We've already talked a little bit about web-safe colors, what makes a web-safe color. Let's take a look at using non-web-safe colors. One area where you might want to be concerned with web-safe colors, and it is still occasionally a problem, and the only way to do this is really to check on different computers. The Macintosh and the Windows computers still view colors a little bit differently. The Macintosh's screen is a little lighter, it's a little less saturated. The Windows screen is a little darker, it's a little more saturated. So you will find a potential problem if you have colors that are too close together, colors that are very slight shades apart. You may find some problems on one or the other of the computers. So my best recommendation there on using non-web-safe colors is to make sure that your colors have a nice contrast, a nice range between them, either a color contrast or a value contrast, and I would actually recommend using both. If you always have a good color spread and a good value spread between your colors, chances are that your image will look just fine on any computer system, and it also should look good if it's viewed in black and white, let's say on a little black and white Palm Pilot or something. So just keep your contrast on your colors up and keep the separations nice and distinct, and you should have no problem with viewing the image on different computers. Now obviously if you have a logo, you're going to have to match your color exactly to that logo, or at least as close as you possibly can to make your client happy. Let's take a look down here again. I'm going to choose a couple of spots. You notice that almost every color I choose here is a non-web-safe color. Again, web-safe colors have 3 matching pairs, and this is the hexadecimal code, which goes from 0 up through F. So instead of 0 through 9, which is the 10-based system, this is 16. So we add 6 more onto the 10, which are the first 6 letters. So it's 0 through F is your hexadecimal or base 16. So as I click through here, you'll see you're almost always going to be finding a non-web-safe color. Also, obviously enough, if we use a gradient, even though I am picking a web-safe color as my base color here, this blue color is a web-safe blue, all these shades in between here are going to be non-web-safe colors. Black's web-safe, this blue is web-safe. Most likely everything in between is going to be non-web-safe. There might be one shade in here someplace that hits a web-safe. You will also see here that pure colors are web-safe colors. This is a pure blue with no red or green. It's also a web-safe color. It's easy to spot here. Again, we have 2 pairs that are 0, so there is 0 stands for no red. These 2 zeros are no green. And then 2 F's is pure blue. So by looking at this, it's pretty obvious to see that whenever we have a pure color here, red, blue, or green, it's going to be a web-safe color. Now again, when you're working with colors for your designs here, if you're working with large solid blocks of color, again, I tend to just grab web-safe colors. Now if you don't want those web-safe colors and you are grabbing, need large solid blocks of color, try to stay in a more solid color area. Don't come up here to these real faint colors. This is where you may have some problems, are these really faint colors when using non-web-safe colors. And the same down at the bottom end down here, some of these really dark shades of a color may not reproduce well on all systems. So you're better off, picking one down here, one up at this end, and then staying more towards the middle here. Now if you're using several, let's say we're using several shades of blue, you had a wide range between them. Like my first one would be white, my next would be here, next one is down here a ways. Just make sure I have a wide range between these shades, and that should keep me okay as far as the web safe goes, and using the non-web safe colors, we should be okay. And one final note, you will see over here that there are very few decent brown shades in here. We have a couple of browns here. That's really kind of a purplish. There's A couple of browns here, a couple of lighter things that are almost tans, and a couple of other light ones in here. Now what this should be telling you right off the bat is that flesh tones are not going to be web safe. No matter what you do, flesh tones are not web safe. There's only a couple of things that can even masquerade as flesh tones in here. Like that might be one. That might be an okay flesh tone. May have a little bit of a darker flesh tone over here, or maybe here. There's some real dark ones down in here. Okay, the purple range. So if you're going to be using flesh tones, doing things with flesh images, just be aware that you're going to be working with non-web safe colors. And then just make sure that you have, if you need a distinct separation for whatever reason, make sure you have that distinct separation so that it views properly on all the different monitors. One more note here about using web safe colors, and this is a very serious consideration. We're talking about WebSafe matching to our WebSafe palette if we need to, the difference between the Macintosh and the Windows environments, etc., etc. One thing we haven't mentioned here, and this is a very important consideration, is that we don't know which monitor somebody is viewing these things on. They might be viewing these things on an old monitor with bad color adjustment. They might be viewing these on a laptop with real crisp adjustment. It might be a really nice monitor with color control and color settings that are really dialed in. We just don't know. So I guarantee if you went to any office building and could take the same image on all the monitors, line all the monitors up side by side, the image would look different on every single monitor. You wouldn't find two monitors that match. So I would just take this whole consideration, this whole discussion of colors and being concerned with this web safe and how's it going to look on all these monitors with a grain of salt, because you really have very little control over it. It is better to be concerned with the color contrast, the color separations, that everything is apparent on your screen, than just be worried about the exact colors and whether it's web safe or not.